Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to be looking into today is the case of Savanna LaFontaine Greywind. And it's a pretty horrific story. What happened to her is just... I've done similar cases, I believe twice before. Just don't get any easier. But yeah, anyway, this case was suggested by Julie, so thank you for that. I appreciate any suggestions you guys have. And of course, if you do have any more, please do let me know. Savanna LaFontaine Greywind was born on the 9th of August in 1995 to parents Norberta and Joe. They were quite a big family, really. She had siblings, 18-year-old sister Kayla, 16-year-old brother Casey. She also had a 20-year-old brother called Joe Jr., and they all lived together in this 3-story apartment block in Fargo in North Dakota. She was aspiring to become a medical student. She wanted to become a nurse, basically, in her later life. She was going to college. She was a young Native American girl who was part of the Spirit Lake tribe, and she had these dreams. She was working towards these dreams, and she was being successful at that. She had a tattoo on her ankle that read "Too Beautiful for Earth," and had a tattoo of a dream catcher down her right leg. She had also enrolled in the North Dakota State University, and again, she just was such a lovely woman. The year was 2017. She was 22 years old, and at that time she was actually 8 months pregnant. She had been with her childhood sweetheart. She met him when she was 15 and had been with him for 6 or 7 years at that point. He was called Ashton Matheny, and they were just so madly in love with each other. She lived with her family in that basement apartment, in the 3-story apartment, but they were actually planning on moving out soon. You know, they had a baby on the way. They were completely in love. They had a massive support system because her family loved him. You know, they were really supportive of having this baby in the family. She was super excited, looking forward to it. And they had planned on moving out and starting their own little family in their own apartment. I believe that they were moving out pretty soon. They were actually expecting a little girl in September, who they were going to call Ainsley Joe. And they were just so excited to start this new chapter in their life. They had gotten a few baby things that they needed. Her mum was also planning on throwing this baby shower for her the next day, which would have been the 20th of August. We're now on the 19th of August 2017. So on the 20th, they had planned to have this baby shower. And it was just, I don't know, they were just having such a lovely, normal day on the 19th. So that day, Savanna was just lounging around. I mean, she's 8 months pregnant at this point. Don't forget, she's very nearly at her due date. She has swollen ankles, things like that. So she's going to be chilling around a lot, being in a comfies, you know, just that is what she wanted to do that day. That's what she did. Now, her mum actually worked at this Dollar General store that was close by. And one of the neighbours who lived, I believe, upstairs, called Brooke Cruz, often frequented that store. It was the local store, and Savanna knew of Brooke, but they weren't friends. They were acquaintances. They weren't friends. You know, Brooke was quite a bit older than Savanna. I believe she was like 36 or something like that, and Savanna was 22. So they knew each other. She had a boyfriend called William, and then Brooke does something which is strange considering that they weren't really friends or anything like that. So she sees that the door's open as she's walking by, and she kind of pops her head in and says to Savanna, like, "Can you help me with this dress that I'm fitting?" She wanted her to put it on so that she could hem it or something like that. And she basically said that there's $20 in it for you if you just sort of stand there, put the dress on, I'll hem it around you, and then that's that. You know, it won't take that long. She needed to make this dress and she needed help with it, so Savanna said, yeah, okay. She texted her mum, letting her know what she was doing. She texted her boyfriend, letting him know what she was doing. She also ordered this pizza for, like, herself and the family and told them that she was going upstairs. It was apartment 5. She was going to go and help the neighbour. I mean, the thing was though, Savanna never came back down. Her mum obviously got a bit worried. Tells one of her brothers to go upstairs and check on her because she was supposed to take her brother to work. Savanna did that a lot. You know, she helped out with the family a lot, in the sense of taking on to and from work, things like that. So that's what she was supposed to do that evening. and she hadn't come back yet. So he goes upstairs and he knocks on the door. There's no answer, but he said he could hear like a sewing machine going in the background. So he's thinking, well, they mustn't be done yet. So he goes back downstairs. He tells his mum, and she's like, right, okay, well, she must still be up there, obviously busy. I will take you to work myself. And off they go. So I believe she took him about 4:30. She comes back home and Savanna has still not come down yet, and she's been up there hours at this point. And she knows that she's not been down, because you may be thinking, well, she's been out. How does she know that Savanna hasn't come down in the meantime and gone out somewhere or something like that? Well, the pizza had not been touched, and she'd literally ordered it because she was hungry. It was still sat there untouched. And her mum knew that she wouldn't be walking around anywhere. The car was still in the driveway. She wouldn't be walking around anywhere because she was 8 months pregnant. Her feet were swollen. She isn't going to just be wandering around. At the very least, she would have waited or whatever. Either asked somebody to go and get something for her or waited for the car or something like that. But there was just, she wouldn't have gone out on her own. Oh, I forgot to mention as well, when the son was sent up, she actually sent Joe up as well, the dad after. And I believe he got an answer. Brooke answered the door. I should have said this a bit earlier. I forgot it, sorry, my apologies. But Brooke answered the door and basically said that they weren't done yet. So, yeah, that is when she then took her son to work. Anyway, getting worried about Savanna at this point after she's not come back down yet, she goes up herself and she ends up speaking to Brooke herself, who tells her that Savanna left. Shortly after her father went up there to find out where she was, they were done and Savanna left, and that was the last time she saw her. And again, her mum thought that was super odd because she'd not come down, she'd not eaten the pizza, she had no car. Where on earth had she gone if she had just left? It was very strange. And she gets in touch with her boyfriend Ashton, who basically tells her that he had been texting her that evening. They were having laughs and jokes and she seemed happy, and then all of a sudden the text messages just stopped. The replies, she just stopped replying, which was very weird and very concerning. So she ends up calling the police and reporting her daughter as missing. So the police get there and they go upstairs to where Savanna's last known location was, their Brooke's apartment. They go and they have a word with Brooke, and I'm not sure whether William was there at that time. Can't remember. But basically they say that they're looking for Savanna. She tells them the same story that, not long after Joe came up, Savanna left. They ask if they can come in and have a look around, and she says, yeah, of course, come in, have a look around. So they do. They go in, they have a look around the bathroom, look around the living room, look around everywhere. They don't find anything suspicious, and so they leave again. I don't know, the police work seems pretty shabby on this case, let's just say that for starters, because when you actually find out what was in that apartment, in the searches that they did, it's just mental. So they tell, obviously, her Norberta and Joe that, she's not there. They're going to keep an eye out, keep looking, whatever. But she's not in that apartment. There's no evidence to the contrary, no sign of struggle, no nothing. So they end up calling the police again later on that day. And the police go to the apartment once more. And they look through it again. And they find nothing. Then, the next day, they search the apartment again. And they found absolutely nothing once more. All this time, Savanna has had no contact. She's missing. Nobody knows anything. Nobody knows where she is. They're out searching for her. They're putting the name out there in the public eye, things like that. But there's just nothing. They've searched that apartment, where she was last seen, the last people to see her, and there's nothing there either. But there actually was, which we'll get into. As they start looking around other places and things, they get a tip from somebody who rings in to say that they saw Savanna getting into this red pickup truck thing, and William, which was Brooke's boyfriend, apparently had a red pickup truck. So they go and speak to him about that, and he says, well, I loaned it off my boss, because he was a construction worker, I believe, and I didn't even have it the day that Savanna went missing. So they're like, right, okay. So then they go and speak to his boss to confirm this, and he starts going on about how he had loaned it to him because they had recently had a new baby. Like, what? Where the hell has that come from? They've been in that house 3 times. They've interviewed these people I don't know how many times, and not once have they seen a baby have mentioned that this couple has a newborn baby, but they ask around some more construction workers. He's been telling everyone that he's got this newborn baby, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And it's really strange because the couple, they end up taking this dresser all the way from upstairs to all the way downstairs. They put it in the car and then they go and get rid of it. And the police are sat there watching this. They don't think anything suspicious about that, even though, you know, Savanna is missing. And, you know, all that time they're calling in dogs, they're doing searches here, there and everywhere that they can think of to try and find her. They didn't take dogs to the car, they didn't take dogs to their apartment, they didn't take anything like that, which would have marked something, but they just didn't do it. Now, after reports of that, it allowed them to get an official search warrant for the apartment because, you know, Savanna, who is missing by the way still, was 8 months heavily pregnant, and now suddenly these two people who she was last seen with have this random newborn baby. Very, very strange. So on the 24th of August, they went and did a search again, but this time it was an unannounced search. They weren't expecting the police to be coming, and as they go in and start looking around, they find on the bed a newborn baby girl who was probably only a couple of days old. Police arrested Brooke right there and then, and William Hohen was arrested later at work. So they begin asking questions like, you know, where's this baby come from and stuff. And Brooke denies everything. William, he starts to talk a little bit, but Brooke started with a story. Why was it a story? Because she started, when talking to the police, saying that Savanna basically, this is just crazy, just honestly, but she said that Savanna did not like her life. She induced her labour whilst in that apartment, or went into labour, I'm not sure which. Then she's like given birth to her little girl that she was super excited for, could not wait to become a mother, and then she's just like, nah, I don't want it anymore, and just gave the baby to Brooke and said, you can have her. And then she left. That's what she said. Like, what? It obviously made no sense whatsoever, because her entire family was literally below these strange people who she didn't even really know. They were just acquaintances that she had seen passing by. But yeah, she's just going to hand her baby over to them and then run away. Okay, whatever. The baby was initially taken into social services because they were obviously doing DNA testing. They suspected that it was Savanna's and whatnot, but obviously they had to make sure by doing the DNA testing. Then on the 27th of August, which was like 3 days, something like that, after they had found the baby girl, 2 kayakers came across a bag in the Red River. At 8:22 p.m, this human-shaped bag was pulled out of the water, and then it was later identified to be the body of Savanna. The DNA testing did come back on the little girl, and it was proved to be the couple's little girl that they were expecting, and so obviously she then went living with her dad. Brooke came up with a story saying that when Savanna had got in their apartment, they ended up having this argument, and that she pushed her against the sink, and that is where she hit her head and then fell unconscious. She then went into the kitchen, got a knife, and did her own C-section on Savanna. And it was said that she was drifting in and out of consciousness due to blood loss. William came home a bit after that. He apparently helped to clean up. But in all this story, you know, he's claimed that he didn't know anything about it. He just came home, was told to help clean up, and that they had gotten this baby from somewhere. She was holding up the baby when he got home, saying, this is our baby, this is our family. And then he asked if Savanna was dead, and she was like, I don't know. Please help me, like, clean up and things. She then said that William was the one that actually held the rope to her neck to make sure that she was dead and that he strangled her. The autopsy came back to say that they couldn't actually determine as to whether Savanna died due to the blood loss from the C-section or the actual strangulation. So we don't actually know which one. They then went ahead and stashed her body in the bathroom closet and then finished cleaning up the blood. The baby they had in like a makeshift bed in like the living room, and then when the police came a knocking, the body was still in the closet of that bathroom, and the baby was actually in the apartment just like covered over And the police searched it 3 freaking times and never found anything. I mean, the first time at the very least, Savanna's body was in the closet. So, but they just, I don't know, they just didn't find her. They didn't look very well. The baby did not cry. They, when interviewed and asked like how he kept the baby quiet, he just said that she was a really good baby. So he's literally sat there with a body and a baby, and the police are looking around and they didn't find anything. It's just absolutely mental, seriously mental. Whether the second time when they searched, I don't know whether, you know, they had removed the body then, but he did admit to putting her body in that furniture and carrying it out the stairs, down the stairs, and then he went and dumped it. So when the police were watching him do that too, Savanna's body was in there, and they just watched them take down this heavy piece of furniture and just leave. It's just, the police work on this leaves a lot to be desired. And although Brooke sort of blamed everything on William and that he was the one that actually killed her, you know, later on while she was in prison, she apparently admitted to doing it all herself, so who even knows? On the 2nd of February in 2018, Brooke Cruz was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Then on the 4th of September 2018, William Holland pleaded guilty to conspiracy of kidnapping and lying to the police. He was also charged with conspiracy to commit murder, but pled not guilty to that. And actually, something I forgot to mention, Brooke had actually tried to lure Savanna up there 2 weeks prior, but she knocked on the door, asked her if she wanted to go and smoke some weed or something with her, and Savanna was like, no, because she was, you know, pregnant at that point. So it seemed like she probably had this plan for a while, and she was trying to just figure a way to lure her up there. So anyway, sorry, he was tried and acquitted of the sort of conspiracy to commit murder charge on the 28th of September. And he was originally sentenced to life in prison, but that was overturned. And in October of 2019, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. And that was that. You know, Savanna had been lured up there with this pretense of helping out a neighbour. She literally cut her open and ripped the baby out and pretended that it was her own. I mean, how did they even think that they would get away with that? Like, seriously, Savanna was missing and then suddenly they've got this baby girl. And Savanna was pregnant with a girl. I wonder. The baby, as pre-arranged, you know, as the pair wanted to, was named Ainsley Jo. And despite her horrific sort of bringing into this world, she remained a healthy little girl and is currently being brought up by her father. And both families are heavily involved in that. She will be 5, I believe, this year. And poor Ashton, at 22 himself, had to grow up very quickly. You know, he had lost the love of his life and had gained a child within days. And now he was on his own, having to bring his daughter up. But he and his daughter are inseparable. He sees Savanna in her all of the time. And of course, like I said, he has a lot of support around him too. As a result of Savanna's murder, the Savanna Act was introduced to the state in October of 2017. And this bill aims to improve tribal access to federal crime information and the databases for the missing sort of Native American women, because apparently there is not a lot of information on it. There's not a lot of places that these Native American sort of residents can go and try and find information on their missing women, because there is a lot of it in there and there's just nowhere they can look and find information on it. So apparently this act tries to help towards that, which is really good. In 2020, the act was signed by Donald Trump, president at the time. In the United States and Canada, there is a lot of Indigenous women who experience sort of assault, violent assault, and it's just a far higher sort of rate than any other racial group. And they are more likely to go missing than white women are. The crimes against them are very underreported and are not often sufficiently investigated, which is absolutely devastating. And obviously this bill tries to help to change that. I hope there's more that can be done and more put in place to help these missing Indigenous women. There's a high chance that a lot of people get away with the crimes against them, and it's just devastating. Things need to be changed, so hopefully spreading awareness of these cases and things like that, you know. And if anybody has anything that they want me to cover on maybe a missing Indigenous woman out there or something, anybody who is undercovered and, you know, not out in the public eye as much, then obviously let me know and I will try and do my best for any of them. Savanna's case, just devastating. She was 22, she had a whole life ahead of her, was starting a family, had her plans. She just recently got a job as like a nursing assistant, and she wanted to become a nurse for the elderly. Just heartbreaking that she never ever got to meet her daughter. It's just awful. But yeah, that is the end of the case. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Savanna LaFontaine Greywind. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.